You are running with the Devils, and we are back talking Arizona State football here with you on YouTube. I'm the RyKno, Ryan Knowles. Here with me, as always, my partner in crime, Big John Caldwell. Hey, Big John,
Hey,
another victory show. 2-0, baby. Gotta love it. Gotta love the Devils, the way they're playing right now.
we're
Very
rolling.
exciting.
It's a great looking product out there. Um,
Yes, it is. And
it's
we're
the,
going to be getting into everything Arizona State football right here on RWD as we do every week. Make sure to like and subscribe us and never miss out on the show. We'll be with you throughout the season, every week, talking everything Arizona State football. And of course, we got to start. We got to break it down for you, run it down for you as the Arizona State Sun Devils knock off the Mississippi State Bulldogs. They use a big first half. They jump out to a 27-3 lead and hang on for the 30-23 victory. Devils moved to 2-0 for the first time since 2021. Also, the last time they won back-to-back games was back in 2021. And their first SEC win in school history. They were 0-5 coming into this week against the Southeastern Conference. So a lot to celebrate there for this team, but can't rest on your laurels because you got a big opponent, your first road game of the year, going down to San Marcos, Texas, to face the upstart Sun Belt Conference, favorite. They're expected to win the conference this year. The Texas State Bobcats. We'll be getting into all of that, and of course, we'll be talking everything. As far as player of the Cam Scattaboo had a tremendous game, the second most rushing yards in school history. A great performance by number 4. And hats off to you, Cam, because that your performance basically helped win us the game
he
in a
played
big
hard.
way.
He played
Yes, he
really
did.
hard, and he delivered the blow. And to hear that on Monday, the only thing that was a little sore was his toe. Just kind of blew my mind, But he's so he's
He's
been in
tough.
the
He's a
he's a
tough
tough.
kid.
Well, he dropped the weight, he changed his body, and he's not, and he looks fast out there. My gosh, he showed you. He made himself small through at times, and at other times he did not shirk the blow. He delivered the blow, but always watch his feet, man. He keeps driving after that first contact. Those legs are driving, and he got him his. I'd be real interested to see if anybody charted his yards after first contact because it was phenomenal.
And Kenny challenged him because Cam said that he wanted to play on Sundays eventually, and Kenny challenged him, and he has certainly stepped up to the plate and answered the challenge. He earned numerous Player of the Week honors, including Conference Offensive Player of the Week, Associated Press Player of the Week, and the Doak Walker Award Player of the Week. So, big ups to Cam Scattaboo, number 4. We liked what we've seen from him through 2 weeks.
Well,
he's definitely been the bell cow, silencing the cowbells at Mount America Stadium on Saturday. So.
And the scouts,
Moving on,
the pro scouts know who he is now.
Yep. Also got to throw a shout out to CJ Feet, a 290-pound D lineman, picking the ball up and extending it over the pylon for a touchdown. The second defensive touchdown, second week in a row, ASU's defense has had a touchdown. Their third overall. Big ups to CJ fighting that ASU defense. They're definitely balling out right now. And he was the Big 12 Beef of the Week, as they call it, for their outstanding D-line play. And definitely like what we've seen out of him. He's certainly taken a leadership role on that defense in the middle, not putting up the biggest numbers, putting that touchdown aside, but he's creating opportunities for other players, doing a lot of things on film that you definitely like to see.
He's part of that Texas pipeline we're building, and he's got to be getting the attention of high school kids in Texas for like, you can come here, and you can play right away, and by your second year you're going to be making big plays.
Yeah.
You're going
to have success.
Players of the week. You're going to be a player of the week.
Certainly a perfect example right there. And we're talking about this game. We'll talk about the concerns with ASU's passing game. It was a big storyline after this game, the play of quarterback Sam Levitt. We'll certainly address that in our kind of our bridge segment, putting to bed the Mississippi State game and going into Texas State, our concerns with the ASU passing game. The coaches don't seem too worried, but that's their job to project confidence. Ours is to kind of play devil's advocate and kind of question what's going on with Sam Leavitt's arm. And we mentioned the Devils will travel to Texas State on a short week. They will kick off tomorrow in San Marcos against the Bobcats. So we'll get into that and give you everything that you need to know about Texas State as well. But moving on to the recap here of the win over Mississippi State, Sam Leavitt, not the best game throwing the ball, only 10 of 20 for 69 yards. He missed on a couple of throws. The throw to the end zone to Jake Smith leaps to mind that looked like it was going to be a touchdown. Smith had a step on the two guys who were covering him and kind of got turned around a little bit and wasn't able to make the play. But then the throw to Cam Mettier on third down off play action. And just, granted, Leavitt didn't set his feet and the ball, and then he throws the ball behind Mettier, which would have been a tough play for anyone to make. But that was a big miss because it was third down and ASU had to give the ball back to a Mississippi State offense that was starting to find its feet.
That's right.
And, you really hate to see that. It would have extended the drive and allowed ASU to continue bleeding the clock. But, he did do some good things with his legs, scored the first touchdown of the game, scored a second one on a sneak. So, and compiled 68 rushing yards, many of which were used to keep drives going. So, you take what you can get from with a redshirt freshman quarterback who's still trying to find his feet with some of these receivers, but doing good things on the ground, with a team that right now their identity is as a rushing team on offense.
Mm-hmm.
But,
TOP,
some good numbers from ASU in this game. Sorry, John, go ahead.
I was going to say TOP, I thought was critical, and at one point, it was obvious that the plan was to keep their offense, that pace of their offense off the field, and it really worked. But when you're averaging set almost eight yards a carry, you're going to eat up a lot of clock, and it was anytime you win that TOP by 2-1, you're probably going to win in college football.
And that was big. That was one of our keys to the game last week, was keeping Mississippi State's offense off the field and out of rhythm. And with the way ASU was able to run the ball, keep that clock moving, keep that time of possession well in their favor, that was a huge key to their success on Saturday. Going 3 of 3 on fourth down was also big. A couple of nice pickups by Cam Scatterbo in that respect as well. And then the penalties were a little bit of an issue, Big John. A couple questionable calls by the SEC refereeing crew. Yep. A little home cooking there for the Bulldogs. There were definitely some that holding call on fourth down against Keyshawn Elliott was just like a phantom call. It was one of the worst I think I'd ever seen. I've been watching Pac-12 refs most of my adult life, so that's certainly saying something. They finished with 9 penalties for 85 yards. Lee Fatanu had a personal foul,
a PF
that probably could have been avoided. There was a 15-yard on a fair catch that you probably could have been avoided as well. There's some questionable calls. You certainly want to clean some of that up. Luckily, it didn't end up costing them the game, but you still like to see a little bit of cleaner play out of your team.
Well, the fact that we played, to the whistle, and we played hard, I think you're gonna let some of that go, like the Leif jumping on the pile a little late. He was in the air when that got called, as the whistle was going off. So I don't know. It's it
didn't seem that egregious at the time. I listened to the post-game show going home, and they seemed to think it was the correct call. Again, I didn't. It wasn't as bad as the Keyshawn Elliott phantom holding call.
Yeah, he just touched the guy. He touched him on the hip. Yeah,
he grabbed him by the hip for like a second, turned the guy a little bit. He wasn't even the intended receiver on the play. He wasn't. It really had no impact on the play, quite frankly. And on a fourth down with a game, basically hanging in the balance, if ASU, gets them off the field at that point, the game is probably effectively over. I don't know how you make that call, frankly.
The defense continues to have the sack attack. It's a beautiful thing, folks.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Great game from the defense. 3 sacks, 7 tackles for loss. We talked about the CJ feat, scoop and score, a touchdown for the second straight week. They had those 2 against Wyoming, a big one against Mississippi State that really helped set the tone. And this defense looks like a whole nother animal from last year. They were, they gave up a lot of yards last year. They were trying to play a bend but don't break, kind of hold them to field goals. Now it's about getting after the quarterback and the ball carriers, and trying to make plays and force turnovers, which has always been a hallmark of Brian Ward's defenses. It looks like ASU has the personnel and to make that happen, and they played very, very well for stretches of the last 2 weeks. And then Mississippi State was a one-dimensional team. I mean, they only had 24 net rushing yards. So hats off to the defense to front on that. And they were 3 of 11 on third down.
Right.
Usually when your defense does that, it keeps them, limits them in the rushing game, gets them off the field on third down, you're going to win a lot of ball games. That was another big key to why ASU was able to come away with the victory. And then the kicking game was kind of a negative coming out of Wyoming. 2 missed field goals by the special teams. And kicker Ian Hershey, 3 of 3. On his kick, on his field goals, including 2 that were over 40 yards, which are not exactly gimmies in the college game. So big ups to him as well. He had a nice game.
I thought Parker Lewis kicking it out every time is a nice way to no surprises, no big plays, no big run backs. It was I like Parker in that position, and so I think we're getting our kicking game, kicking and punting game together. In fact, I think our punting was a lot better this week too.
Kenyon Floyd, I mean, I think he's a freshman.
He is.
But, he is. I mean, he had a couple that were about 40 yards.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't really boom anything, but you also don't want to outkick your coverage. I think he's doing fine right now.
He's got pretty decent hang time.
He hasn't really flipped the field position like they kind of expected him to do at the beginning of the year, but yeah, certainly no mistakes, nothing to criticize too much there.
Well, I'm going to give you another stat too. I know it's really kind of trivial, but Charlie Ragle.
You and special teams, John. That's kind of be expected.
It is, but I look at this stuff carefully, and Ragle still has not had a punt blocked. He didn't have one at Cal. He didn't have one here yet either. It's kind of a point of pride for him in the way he sets up his schemes. So.
Well, certainly, because that can change the game in a big way.
Oh my God, it can.
If you have a missed assignment there, and that ends up happening. And I mean, Mississippi State was kind of in a bad spot after that missed extra point. So
that's right.
Certainly, it is a third of the game for a reason. It can change the game. Special teams play can change the game as much as a big offensive play. So
right.
Absolutely. And as we do every week here on Running with the Devils, our players of the game presented by Valley Athletic Booster Club. To support local athletics, check out valleyathleticboosterclub.com. And for me, hard to give it to anybody else except Cam Scadaboo. Second all time in school history for rushing yards, 33 carries, 262 yards. He also had 3 receptions for 35 yards, which made him ASU's leading receiver as well. So big game by him. Certainly, we talked about him earlier, and he just continues to go out there and produce. He's so tough to bring down. He just knows how to keep his feet and keep plays going and fall forward for extra yards. The guy is just a workhorse right now, and certainly kind of become the feature back in a deep running back room. But hey, you got to ride the hot hand, and right now that is certainly Cam Scadaboo, to say the least. And then on defense,
he's such a good kid too. He's such a good, hard player and a leader out there, and really
easy to root for, definitely.
Yeah, fan favorite.
Yeah, and then for defense this week, I got to give it to Shamari Simmons. Every time you turn around, the guy was out there making plays, whether it was at safety or at the nickel corner slot. They love to line him up all over the field. because he can go out there and make plays, and that's certainly what he did on Saturday. 7 tackles, a tackle for loss, and a pass deflection. At some point, he's going to get his hands on the ball.
Oh, yeah.
John. He is going to go for an interception.
Oh, yeah, you can see it.
It's going to be fun to watch when he does.
You can see it. It's coming.
It is coming.
So,
how about you?
Yeah, there's, when you look back, ASU fan, you can look back on certain offensive efforts. Big nights by, running backs having really, 7 TDs by who I'm trying to remember his name now, who went to the pros. Cam Balaj, my gosh. It was a Balaj-like night in terms of just how, not from scores, but just how prolific he was on the ground and how he was delivering the blow. And at times, it looked like...
Which is funny because he didn't get in the end zone. I mean, he probably could have if he was a more selfish player instead of taking that slide there on that 39-yard run.
Last year he would have, yeah.
He might have gotten in the end zone if he tried for it, but instead he's a good team player. Yeah. Makes the smart play and goes down in bounds, keep the clock moving. So
yeah, and so while I agree with Simmons, he's absolutely being the leader. He's the leader out there. I think Rouser's really kind of feeding off that too. I kind of think they kind of feed it off each other. And there was a period of about 5-6 minutes there where Rouser was just everywhere on every. It wasn't just his solos; he was assisting. But anytime a kid's going to get a DB's going to get 10 total tackles, that's worthy. And he did have, he was in on the tackle for loss so.
It seemed like every time I turned around, he was making a play. So yeah, he's certainly worthy of mention in this game as well.
Yeah,
a defensive performance like this, where you limit Mississippi State to, so few rushing yards, and granted they're a pass first team, so I mean we knew that their rushing offense was not going to be anything to write home about. But the fact that you can do that, and with the way the defense came into this season, you really didn't know what to expect with so many new players. You got you're breaking in the new middle linebackers, you're breaking in new corners. Xavier Alford hadn't played in a couple of years. You had a lot of new faces along the defensive front. You just didn't know what this defense was going to look like. And they've come out and really performed through 2 games. And it's exciting to watch. I really like what I'm seeing out of them. They have gone from just a unit that was trying not to lose the game to a unit that is changing the game week in and week out.
Oh, yeah. And as I think we talked about in the pregame and the pre-show, usually a defense takes a couple of weeks before it finds its identity. This squad had its identity in play number 2 of the first game, it's the way they've been training, it's the way they've been drilling. It's such a nice calling. I call it our calling card, because defense will travel. Defense travels, and here we are. We've got a couple of big road games coming up after this. And this is what's going to keep us in games. This may even win us games this year.
Oh yeah.
And so we've statistically, we are not going to be, folks, anywhere close to where we were last year in any category. Defense should lead the way for us still, but it's exciting to see.
The numbers are staggering if you look at them side by side. How they were this year compared to last year. And I'm very encouraged by what I've seen. I mean, there was a reason why they gave Brian Ward that extension when they did, because they knew what they had in him. Right, they just had to get him some players,
some depth,
to help
and some players,
run his scheme. And I think that they've done that very, very well. They hit the transfer portal hard. They brought along some of these younger corners and given them opportunities.
Right.
And it's they're doing it without Terrence Welch didn't really play in this game. Prince Dorba was expected to be the other edge opposite of Clayton Smith. He hasn't played yet this season.
Romney's out.
Romney, who was a middle linebacker on the 2 deep, a tackling machine out there. He hasn't played yet. He's probably expected to miss about half the season. So, they're doing it with not necessarily shorthanded, but certainly without some of their best players. And it's been very fun to watch this point.
It has been.
So,
So
Kellen, another one of the big questions coming out of this game was what the passing game needed to do to get back on track. And, Big John, we knew that this was going to be an issue kind of coming out of Tonazona, watching the quarterback play. Sam Levitt, he could do some things. He's got a nice arm, kind of lacking in touch a little bit, kind of overthrows a lot of people. But at the same time, he's still making some throws in the short and intermediate game. But what have you seen from him? What does he need to do to start going from just a guy who's out there making plays with his legs, making the occasional throw to somebody who can really affect the game?
Well, as a young quarterback, he's got to learn touch, and as a young quarterback, you've got to put him in a position to succeed. And I think what I mean by that is, that if you notice in this game, this last game, the two long balls that they threw to him, the first two were the receiver was on a dead streak route, and I think Kenny has kind of tipped his hand, and so has Arroyo, that they're going to kind of let that receiver sort of start, those receivers start putting a little bit of a wiggle or a little bit of a bend in their route, so that because one of the hardest throws for a young quarterback is a guy going directly away from you. If he's cutting across, or he's he's going to cut across, or you see him on an arc or a wheel, it's a lot easier to start getting that into the rhythm. And Kenny talked about that he never really got in this rhythm because of the running game, and that's a nice way of kind of taking responsibility for what happened. But he does make a few in practice. The better the route, the better his success. And so some of these long streaking routes, and we have guys that can get open. I really do believe it.
Nobody's doubting the talent in the receiver room. I don't think it's just Sam's got to find ways to get them the ball, and the coaches they got to adjust the playbook a little bit to put a little bit less pressure on Sam to make some. I mean, I understand you got to take shots, you got to stretch the defense. Can't let them come up and jam you every time and try and take away the run. You got to keep them honest, and that's certainly, and some deep shots are certainly the way to do that. But Sam's got to deliver the ball, and hopefully he'll make it happen, and everybody will make adjustments to kind of go from just being a running threat to legit dual threat who can make some of these throws.
Yeah, and if Sam doesn't really put it together in this game, I don't think they're gonna hit the jettison button. I think they're gonna keep working with him. But if
as
he
long
puts
as
the
they
ball,
keep winning, I don't think that's certainly
right.
not going to be the
Right.
case.
But I think they're going to try to put him in a position to start succeeding with the kinds of routes they're going to have him run. But if it really doesn't go well, your best passer on the team is still sitting on the bench, and a proven one in Bourget, and he when he can his first two starts in the Pac-12, 74 and 77% completion ratios against UCLA and Colorado. So I mean, he can put the ball in places right now still. At this point in his career, he still was better than what Sam was. But I think everybody likes the long ball. But if you can't complete the long ball, it's all for naught. So
And I think Sam's got the arm strength. He's just got to kind of find some touch out there.
Yeah, and if Sam doesn't learn to go down and start sliding and taking these big hits, I hate to say it, you don't want to see him get hurt, but we do have a worthy guy who can pass the ball, sitting on the bench.
So hopefully it doesn't come to that, and hopefully Sam will improve. The more reps that he takes, the more film he sees, and the more time he spends with some of these receivers.
Kenny's clearly playing the long game here, and that's fine. But you do want to see progress. So I think this is a good test to see a little more balanced offense. Didn't have to be perfect 50-50 like it was in the first game. The first game was within a yard or two. My goodness, it was so perfect. They made some. He definitely made some nice throws. Was able to get the job done in a game like that, and but as teams start stacking the box, much like Mississippi State did in the second half, at some point you're going to have to win a game on the arm of the quarterback, and hopefully the coaches put him in a position with the play calling to do that. So we'll see how things go.
with this week going up against the Texas State Bobcats. I mean, this isn't your daddy's Texas State team. They look like a legitimate contender out there with the way that they're playing. They're 2-0 so far. Granted, they haven't played some of the tougher teams. They only beat Lamar University by 7, but they really took it to their I-35 rival. Jonathan, is it really a rivalry until the other team wins? Because they had never beaten UTSA in 5 tries. This was the 6th try, but they really took it to the Roadrunners and ran them out of the building, winning 49-10. So, but this is a Texas State team that is certainly on the rise. Sorry, what were you saying?
Like I say, UTSA has been touted in a lot of preseason in that conference for being one of the upper half of the league teams.
Yeah, in the Sun Belt, that is true. But last year, Texas State under first-year coach G.J. Kinney had their first winning season since 2014. And they beat Baylor. They had a nice record, 8-4, and they went to a bowl game and won their first bowl game against Rice. And G.J. Kinney is a big reason why. He's now in his 2nd season. He took Incarnate Word to the FCS Final Four in his lone season there. Went 12-2, won a conference championship, and when he came to Texas State after Jake Spavital left. He's really turned them into a really solid program, and they're picked to finish first in the Sun Belt this year. And they've looked like it through 2 games. So this is a team you do not want to take lightly. They look like a legit group of 4 team that, if they go undefeated, could make it into the college football playoffs.
And Ron, I'm going to just tell you, watching their film, they play hard. There's nobody goofing around out there. They're absolutely play hard.
Don't let the name fool you. They got some players on this team.
Oh yeah.
And I mean they've hit the transfer portal very, very well. They got some kids from Baylor, from the Oklahoma schools. They've gotten some guys in here who know how to ball, and Kenny brought over some players that helped them win over an Incarnate Word, and they played very well. Besides, so. This is a solid program, and certainly one that they've played Power 5 teams before. They beat Baylor last year. They know how to play on a big stage, on a short week. This is certainly a team that I don't think ASU is considering it a trap game. It's certainly somebody that can reach up and bite you if you give them the opportunity.
Oh, and because of where ASU is at right now, and the attention we're getting, and the defense, and we're getting our fair share of attention. And Scatterbo going on having a phenomenal game. Every eye in Texas, who's high school kid, college kid, they're going to be watching this game. It's a lot of
Texas kids on this ASU team.
Oh yeah,
right.
And they want to know what's going on with all the Texas kids coming. ASU's center of gravity for recruiting is moving to the east, folks, because of the 4 teams we are going to be playing in this conference. It's clear. So this is I hate the hyperbole, but this is a really big game for Texas State. Really big.
And Kelly Dillingham has called this the toughest team that they're going to play that they've played to this point.
Correct.
I mean, I don't think he throws that that phrase around lightly, because they look like a dangerous team right now with the way that they're playing. So ASU is definitely going to need to play its best ball. They want to come out of San Marcos for the win. And it starts with their offense. They put up some crazy gaudy numbers so far through 2 games, and granted against Lamar and UTSA, so take that with a grain of salt, but still almost 42 points a game. They've been pretty balanced to this point, 291 yards through the air, 204 per game on the ground. And it starts with their quarterback, Jordan McLeod, who's moved around quite a bit. He was at one point in Tucson with Arizona. He's also been with South Florida, and was a conference player of the year at James Madison last year. Transferred over and had himself a nice year so far. 39 to 57, 547 yards and 5 touchdowns. He's also had 2 rushing touchdowns. So he's a dual threat. He can get it done with his legs as well. And then you look at Their running backs, Ishmael Mahdi has been coming into this season, is expected to be kind of one of their big play guys. And he's looked like it so far. 37 carries, 182 yards, and a touchdown thus far, along with 5 receptions and 56 yards. Had himself a huge season last year with over 1,300 yards and 10 touchdowns. So he's coming in as the veteran guy. This is, a team that you can't really, won't favor one side of the ball or the other. They can beat you through the air or through the ground. And then they got a nice complimentary back in Lincoln Pare, 17 carries, 133 yards, and 2 touchdowns thus far for him as well. So they got a nice two-headed monster going thus far. And then through the air, this is where they've gotten a lot of big plays so far. Chris Dawn Jr. has kind of been their big play guy, even though he's only about 5'7", coming out of the slot. They find ways to get him the ball. It's been big. 7 receptions, 163 yards. He had those two long touchdowns against UTSA. He's a guy you got to know where he is on the field at all times. And have one of your better corners on him because he can make you pay. Joey Hobart is kind of their veteran guy in the room, and he's got 10 receptions and 2 touchdowns so far this year. At 76 last year, so he's one of their go-to guys. And then they've had Jaden Williams emerge this year as another big target. 8 receptions, 84 yards, and a touchdown for him as well. And they got some legacy guys on this team because Jordan McLeod, his brother Ray, plays in the NFL. Joey Hobart's brother played in the NFL for a little bit. So that there's definitely some bloodlines coming through this program that have been very impressive. And then on the offensive line, leaders Nash Jones, their left tackle. He's team captain who's getting a lot of NFL draft buzz in the mid rounds. Certainly somebody with Sunday potential. And then on their defense hasn't been they made steps to improve it. I'll say that was kind of their Achilles heel last year. They gave up a few too many big plays and too many points. Thus far this year, they haven't even given up an average of 20 points a game. They really bottled UTSA up very well last year. They're giving up, over 244 passing yards a game. But again, they're facing teams that like to throw the ball. They haven't really faced a running pro-style team like ASU currently is. And then, but they had the second most tackles for loss in the country last year, behind only Penn State. So they get after it. They pin their ears back. They like to get in the backfield and cause havoc. But again, they still gave up quite a few, a lot of big games with a lot of points last year. But it seems like they've taken steps to improve it. I think this defense this year is a lot better than it was last year. And it starts with their safeties. They're very strong. They're very strong at the safety position. Jordan Polk is one of their leaders. 18 tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss, and pass deflection so far this year. And then Bobby Crosby on the other side. He's played very well, 7 tackles, a tackle for loss, and the team's only interception so far. And then up front on the edge, Ben Bell has come in and played very, very well. 7 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks. He's filling up the stat sheet very, very well. And then got a couple guys up front in Khalil Alexander and Tumise Adeleye with 2 sacks each. Like to get after the quarterback. So this is a team, they got like 4 or 5 guys with 2 or more sacks. They like to get after it out there. They like to cause havoc. They like to force opposing teams into bad decisions. So ASU is really going to have to come correct because this Bobcat team is no pushover. I imagine when ASU scheduled this game, they didn't quite expect this type of team coming in, but this is a good team. Absolutely.
It is. And a few years ago, we were under Todd Graham, we were running a blitz, a lot of blitz. And eventually people started figuring it out and started kind of scheming around the fact that we were blitzing so much. And I don't know, I'm sure we've watched all the film and we see how they blitz and what their personnel is like. So I'm looking for us to kind of help stymie some of that.
It's funny you mentioned Todd Graham because G.J. Kinney
was his quarterback.
Was a quarterback for Todd Graham at the University of Tulsa.
That's right.
He's on the Gus Malzahn coaching tree.
Yep.
who got his start coaching with Todd Graham. He was Graham's offensive coordinator at Hawaii in 2020.
And you know why I know this? Because Penny wrote me this week and told me all about him.
Yeah,
He's
but
pretty
he's
good.
definitely a rising star in the coaching ranks. I mean,
Yeah.
he looks like a guy. A lot of people were surprised he didn't get a Power 5 job this past off season.
Yeah.
This team keeps playing the way they have.
Oh,
He's going to find himself with a big time job
well,
offer at some point.
you keep beating teams like UTSA the way he did. He'll get there. He'll get that job.
And I mean, he was a special assistant with the Eagles for a little, with the Philadelphia Eagles for a little bit. He was an offensive coordinator at UCF. When you look at the one season he spent at Incarnate Word, how fast he got them turned around, how far he took them, and then you look at what he's doing with UTSA, with Texas State. He's definitely a rising star in the coaching ranks. Fully expect him to have a Power 5 job before you know it. And then Keys to the Game.
Here we go.
Presented by Sleep in Heavenly Peace, a great nonprofit that provides beds to kids in need. So definitely support Sleep in Heavenly Peace. And for me, it sounds like a broken record every week of talking about ASU's running game, and but you got to keep that ground garrison rolling. Keep moving those chains. Keep running up that time of possession. Wear down the other team with some of those body blows that the running game provides. And we talked about defense traveling, the running game travels as well. So yes. So if you can run the ball effectively the way ASU has, you're going to win yourself a lot of games. So but again, UTSA has the same film for the last 2 games. They've seen what ASU can do on the ground. They're probably going to stack the box.
Yes.
But can you run against that type of formation with what they're trying to do? Hope ASU gets out on the edge some more. Relief Brown is expected to make his season debut in this game. I'd like to see him get some carries out in space, or get the ball out in space, and make some plays. Use that speed to help ASU.
Yeah, they will
get some big plays going.
Yep.
And speaking of big plays, for the defense, make the Bobcats earn everything that they've gotten. They've kind of been a big play offense to this point. Keep everything in front of you. Don't let them, don't let a missed tackle turn into another 80-yard score like last week. Just make them earn everything that they get. A couple turnovers would certainly be nice, but at the same time, if you can get them off the field on 3rd down and force them to punt, I'll take that as well.
Sure.
And then again, all the coaches seem to be saying all the right things. They're not taking this game very lightly. Just have to make sure that their players don't either. No pity for this kid either. This is not a team that you want to underestimate, because they've got a lot of Power 5 talent in their ranks. They can reach up and bite you if you don't take them as seriously as you would any other opponent.
Right.
So this is, while this might have looked like a gimme on the schedule, I can tell you from watching, I watched that UTSA game last week, it is not. This is a Texas State team that can ball out in a big way, and you've got to come in with your A game, because they definitely will.
Right. So for me, we know they're going to blitz a lot, and that kind of makes them vulnerable. If you're sending all your linebackers, they're going to be vulnerable. They are going to try to make us throw. So our offensive line has got to pick up the blitz, and the run. You need a running back there to help chip a little bit. And while we might not see in this last game,
keeping a tight end in the block,
that'll help chip too. Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Pick up the
some of those max protect formations wouldn't be the worst thing.
Yeah. So and I'm thinking that because Ray Leak is going to be healthy, we'll see some 2-back sets. We did run a pure 2-back set a couple times this last game, especially in the short in like 4th down. But I do expect Ray Leak to be more in the slot and maybe helping to chip a little bit. But Sam's got to get the ball out quickly to beat this blitz. Arroyo's got to design some routes, as we talked about, that he can hit on, or get his confidence, get his rhythm going. I think we want to try to be a little more balanced than we were last week, because I don't expect us to be able to run with abandon like we did at Mississippi State.
Well, and Texas State's I said it. They've got the film on this on the
Right.
Mississippi State game, so they know that we're going to want to run the ball. We've got to be able to show them some other looks,
Yeah.
be able to beat them in some other different ways. You're not
Yeah.
going to be able to win a game against a team like this throwing for only 69 yards the way ASU did last week.
No, and while we opened up the playbook a little bit more from game one to game two. We will open up the playbook a little bit more in game three. Still not completely opened up. You don't really do that. You shouldn't do that until conference starts. But you're going to see some more alignments, some more sets that you have not seen yet. So you're going to see a few more wrinkles to the offense. That'll be very kind of fun for everybody as far as getting our playmakers, put them in a position to excel. So then we say this every week. You got to make their comfortable a big gun quarterback, a dual threat, make them uncomfortable. We got to keep bringing the pressure. I think that's sort of a given with this team. I call them the sack patrol. And if they can make turnovers, that's really a big game changer. We've proven it. It takes quarterbacks out of their mojo when you can strip a ball and turn around and score on a scoop and score on a strip. It's just it's demoralizing. What else you got, kind of thing. So those are my
Sure.
keys. And again, sleep in heavenly peace. Let's get out and support these guys.
Yep.
So what's
So
next, Matt?
that
Predictions.
brings us to our prediction time. John was only 1 point off last week. That Mississippi State missed extra point cost you
Ah, ah,
the perfect prediction.
it played out pretty
But
much the way I thought. Yeah.
yeah, for me, I still think this is going to be a close game. I think ASU, they're going to run the ball, but they'll have enough success in the passing game to to keep UTSA on their heels and not constantly packing the box each and every play. I got them winning 33-28. I think that Texas State will break out for a touchdown late to make this a one-score game. It started at 4.5. Now it's a pick 'em.
Yeah.
So pick your poison there. But I still think ASU will win 33-28 in this game on the road.
It's a much better bet for ASU fans than it was a couple days ago. It's all those Texas fans moving that line. I
Moved
see
the
it.
line almost 5 points. I
Yeah,
know.
I do see us picking up the kicking game being a real important part of this. I see at least probably 4 field goals in this game. So I've got it 37-27, 10 points difference. I think it will be a close game. It will be a good 4-quarter game. But I do think that we will out athlete them and we will out effort them. We look really, really conditioned. We do not. I don't see guys gassed out there. I don't see,
Yeah.
and it's our depth. The way we're rotating players in right now, I think that's really going to help us win this game.
Yeah. I think something similar. I think that UTSA. I keep calling them UTSA because we played them twice
Yeah,
before. But Texas State. I don't think they have the size necessarily to
right.
keep up with us. I
The
mean, they got some
athletes.
speed. They got some guys who have some technique, who can do some
Mhm.
things up front. But if we break out the hammer and just start, running on them with what we've been able to do so far, even if they have extra guys in the box, I think that we should still have some success on the ground. I think Levitt will eventually find his way throwing the ball. Maybe not this week, but I do expect him to have more than 69 yards through the air, and he'll throw for a touchdown.
Yeah,
I'm almost certain of that.
probably run for one.
Against
Yeah,
a team against a Texas State defense that's going to try to put their corners on an island in an effort to stop the run. There'll be opportunities for him downfield. I just got to hope he can make some of these throws.
yeah. And as I say, as we open up this playbook, there's going to be a lot more. I fully expect there'll be at least. While we are getting the ball moved around to a lot of guys right now, it's still nothing like really in terms of the depth we really have. The tight end has really not been utilized a great deal. He'll be used a lot to block this week, but I do think
Well,
that
they're looking for him out there. I mean, Medier caught the
yeah,
touchdown against Wyoming. They
that's
looked
right.
for him on third down on a play that Levitt just missed the throw
Should
on.
should have had a
So
touchdown. Yeah.
yeah, they're utilizing him. They just gotta. Um, I think Levitt just gotta get back into it, continue to get reps in and on the practice field. and eventually it'll come. So that'll do it for us here on Running with the Devils. We appreciate you guys tuning in. As I said, like and subscribe. Make sure you don't miss an episode. We'll be with you every week during the season to talk everything Arizona State Sun Devils. 4:30 kickoff tomorrow is a Thursday game. We'll be the only show in town as far as college football nationally. So definitely some good exposure for the Devils. So hopefully they can come through and have a good showing. So say goodnight. Go Devils.
Works up, baby.
Works up. No pity for the kitty.